Okay, here we are, video 3 of this series of videos where we've been looking at creating a winner's mindset, and just to cast your mind back to the previous videos, which if you spent the time to watch, thank you very much for that. But this one, I'm pretty sure is going to be the best of all. I've got Phil Quirk, who's the lead trainer at HBP NLP, is my NLP mentor and Paula's NLP mentor at Team Bootcamp, where, as you know, we help hundreds of people every year just be better, get fitter, completely change their life. And a lot of the principles that we apply and that we deliver to the people there are born from the training that we get at HBP NLP. So Phil, thanks for coming along and joining us here. And really, I just want to know, I just want to quiz you really on what kind of things you do to help these Olympic athletes create this winner's mindset, and how we can, the people watching this, the boot campers at home, can transfer that into their own life and their own success.
You have to learn to win. You have to learn to be successful. And a lot of the athletes I work with, the ones that are really successful, they have took the time to understand their own minds, and they've took the time to develop their mindset. And I work with some athletes that do really well, some athletes that go to the Olympics perhaps, but they don't medal, they don't win gold. And there's a little slight difference between the way they see the world and the way the really successful ones. And it's a single-mindedness approach. And the story that I use when I chat to the athletes is, imagine a yacht. You drop the yacht on the center of the Atlantic Ocean, and then you want to go to New York. So New York's your gold medal in the Olympics. Now the athletes with a strong mindset, they set their compass directly for New York, and then they go. And no matter what storm comes, no matter what external influence they have, people going out partying, all of the things that can distract them, they just have one course, and that's New York for their gold. But I work with a lot of athletes, and their yacht lands in the middle of the Atlantic, and they don't really set a firm fixed goal. They don't understand where they want to be or where they want to go. And what they do is they sail around in circles. So they use the same amount of energy, they use the same amount of resources, use the same everything, but they just don't go anywhere. The most important thing is visualizing, knowing where you want to be, thinking about that over and over again. Where do I want to be? Where am I going? And when you do that, you can take away SMART goals. You can take away, all those other techniques, because you're going to think about it in your conscious awareness every single day. You'll end up in New York with a gold medal around your neck.
Have you got any without naming names and everything, because the people that you work with and that kind of stuff, but any stories that would portray that kind of thing?
All the athletes I've worked with are different, and it's not just athletes. I've worked with entrepreneurs, businessmen and women, really successful people, and they all have crises of confidence. So I don't really need to name anyone individually, but I've worked with them all at different points where, one day they've been able to conquer the world, and then another day perhaps they've found that they can't get themselves out of bed. When the days that when you can conquer the world take care of themselves, it's what you do when the days you can't get out of bed that makes a difference between succeeding and failing in life. And if you can turn those days around, then the other days will just add to it, and you'll go. What can happen is you have one bad day, which turns into 2 bad days, which turns into 3 bad days, which turns into a bad week, and then all of a sudden you're on a downwards trajectory. And that is just mindset. It's just flipping your mind, focusing on what you want to achieve, becoming process orientated, and then getting back to developing the winning mindset.
One of the most powerful things that I've ever heard you talk about is this idea of that internal dialogue.
Yeah.
The things that you say to yourself when perhaps you're doing the tough yards, or things aren't quite going you well. You perhaps at the end of that really crappy week that's not really gone your way. So in a second, I'm going to talk. I'm going to ask you really what people can do to make sure we've got the right internal dialogue. But before I talk about that, I just want you to sort of explain this idea of limiting beliefs, because it kind of goes hand in hand.
Wow. So limiting beliefs go back to your childhood. The first time you go to climb the stairs, and your parents say, don't, they sort of run, grab you, pick you up as a little toddler, put you down the bottom of the stairs, and they tell you that it's dangerous. And the reason they do that is because they want to protect you from falling down the stairs. But then what it does is it gives you a limiting belief that you're in danger around heights. When actually, the origins of our race, we lived in trees to escape all of the woolly mammoths that were going to eat us. But these limiting beliefs and decisions, they start in childhood, but then we over time, we develop situations out of our conscious awareness that support that limiting belief. So we'll have lots of reasons why we can't do something, and the reason really is fear of failure. So we protect ourselves from failing by saying we can't do something. So we'll make a statement, "Oh, I'll never do this," or "This always goes wrong for me," or I can never get my act together. I'm always late. All of these things that where you make a statement, really it's a limiting decision or a limiting belief. And as soon as you start to understand that, you can start to pick away at these limiting decisions and beliefs and actually examine them for what they are, which is usually something you've decided at one point in time that you've created loads of evidence to support, but isn't actually true. If you find yourself saying things like, "I'm always late," or "I'm always tired," or "this never goes right," so if you start to use those kind of universal words like always and never, ask yourself straight away, has there ever been a time when you have achieved that? And if the answer is yes, you've given yourself a limiting belief. Because when you say, "I'm always late," and I say to you, "Have you ever been on time?" Obviously there's been loads and loads of occasions where you've been on time. And as soon as you realise, well, actually I'm on time pretty much as I'm late, but I only ever focus on when I'm late. So you know that it's a limiting belief or a limiting decision. So you've got the first and most important thing is ask yourself that question: is this true? Am I actually on time? And if it is true, then start working on turning your internal dialogue to say, "I am on time, but I'm occasionally late," and I'm working on increasing that to "I'm always on time." Whatever statement you make, whatever you think in your mind, you'll create the evidence to support that. So if you say to everyone you're always late, you'll end up always being late. That's why people that say that are always late, because they create evidence to support their statement. If you say to everyone, "I'm always on time," then you tend to always be on time. And it is as simple as that. Is change your language, ask yourself the question, and examine what you're saying about yourself.
Health and fitness terms. So let's, quite common we get people turn up and they're like, "Well, I'm a binge eater."
Yes.
You know what I mean? I binge quite often I'll just binge.
So the statement there is that is who they are. So they're not a binge eater. It might be, "I'm Craig, and occasionally I overeat," or "I overeat a lot." So the statement should be, "I'm Craig," because that's who you are. You're not. Your name isn't binge eater. So when you give yourself a statement like that, you're creating straight away all those limiting beliefs and decisions, and you're gonna give yourself evidence to support that because you want to prove yourself true. So inside your brain, at the top of your stem, you've got what's called your reticular activating system, your RAS, and I teach RAS to my athletes. It's your Google search bar, okay? And what you put in that Google search bar is what you'll get in your search engine. So if you put "I'm a binge eater" in your Google search bar, then you'll get all of the evidence inside your brain to support that, including all the pictures, all of the things that go with being a binge eater. Now, what we think about is what we generate inside our brain. So if I'm always thinking things go wrong for me, things will go wrong, and then I will use that as evidence to support my statement that things go wrong. So you have to change what you put in your RAS. That reticular activating system is such a powerful tool. And the second you start to think, well, actually, all I need to do is put positive things in there. So if I keep reaffirming positive things into my RAS, my brain will search for positive things, which will create positive pictures, which will then start supporting my positive statements.
Just playing a bit of devil's advocate, really, for the people watching this film. I know, because I've done the research, of how desperate people are and the things that they type into Google. Some of the statements that they make about food addiction, not being able to break out of, binge eating and craving food, or not be able to get started in fitness and that. There's some really, really desperate people there, and to say, well, just change the way you think about it might just seem a little bit blasé, and we know that in practice it's much tougher than that. So is there some way that we can make it easier for ourselves? Or
what we tend to do as humans is we tend to believe that change is really difficult, and we hold on to that belief really tightly. So we sort of discount if we think something could be changed easily. Now, I've worked with guys with PTSD, that have been away in Afghanistan, and you can only imagine what their RAS is, what their Google search engine is, what goes into that every day. Change can be as simple as just saying, for 20 minutes every morning at the start of the day, all I'm going to do is I'm going to think about positive things. I'm just going to sit down and concentrate on positive things, and then I'm going to notice how that changes my mood. So instead of starting a positive day, waking up thinking about all the bad things that goes in that RAS, you deliberately put 20 minutes of good stuff. And when you notice over a week that actually you start to feel a bit better about yourself, you then realize that if I do it all the time, day in, day out, sustain it, develop the technique of practicing it, then actually it is as easy as just thinking about something different. Society will tell us that it is really difficult to change. And for sure, if you want it to be difficult to change in your RAS, then it will be.
So, when we talk about this, the internal when we're talking about these positive affirmations, is that what we think about this first thing in the morning? I mean, are you really stating that if we started off with 20 minutes of positivity in the morning, we can set ourselves up for success for days and weeks and months and years to come?
You'll notice a difference in your mood. It won't. You certainly won't start with 20 minutes and then by lunchtime you'll have the success you desire, because it's a much more sustained and longer path. But if you start noticing how you can alter your mood by controlling what you think about, as you develop that technique, suddenly it becomes easier, you become more agile at it, you can develop with setbacks a lot easier. You know, for me, lots of people that I've worked with eating disorders, a setback usually triggers a downward spiral of eating, overconsumption. And it's almost like a real vicious circle of internal dialogue, which says you're worthless. How do I not feel worthless? I'll eat to get a good kinesthetic feeling. So I'll eat some food, feel good for a real short amount of time, and go straight back to an internal dialogue which goes, I told you were worthless. And then you just keep going round and round in that circle. Now you need to break that circle. If you want to break the control of food, you have to understand that the control is your internal dialogue, because that commentates on everything you're doing. Have that piece of cake is you talking to yourself. Once you get control of that, once you start to focus, which is what real sort of successful athletes, their internal dialogue is very strong. I want to get to New York and have my gold medal. No matter what, no matter what the sea does, no matter what the external influence on my ship, I know that if I keep going on this path, I'll arrive where I need to arrive. And that's the mindset that the people that you work with should look to develop. Just because these people are Olympic athletes, they're still made up of the same matter as us. They've still got the same organs. You just need to learn how they think and then think like they think. And then success will come.
So basically what I want to do now is just talk about a very unique opportunity that I've managed to broker with lots of cheek, with the two Phils from HBP, NLP, and creating an opportunity for you to go really deep onto this kind of teaching. As you can hear from Phil, every time I spend any amount of time with Phil, I just get a tremendous clarity in my own thinking, in my own life. It's every time, my business multiplies, my happiness multiplies, my relationship with beautiful Paula multiplies every time, and really I just think it's my job to make that accessible to everybody, because there's something incredibly powerful there that everybody should get access to. So Phil, I just want to talk about, I want to move around to this course that you've put together at the end of November, and really who it's for, what it's going to help people do, very broad brush, and then we'll come back and I'll talk to you about how you can get in on this opportunity. So
we're now running our own NLP practitioner, master practitioner courses from here, which is our centre of excellence at Lilleshall, and the idea is, all of the stuff that I've learned over the years working with all of the people that I've worked with, I've come to understand what makes people successful. It doesn't matter if it's in a sport environment or in a business environment or if it's weight loss. They all have common themes. And with the knowledge I've got from NLP and the knowledge that I've learned working with these people, we've put together these courses where people can come along, spend a week with us, They become a fully fledged ABNLP practitioner of NLP, and then if they want, they can go on and do master practitioner course. But really, the NLP and the certificate is great, but it's what they get from the course that's important. And what they'll find is they'll come at the start of the week, and by the end of the week, they'll have a completely new frame of reference for how they see the world. They'll have a whole box full of skills that they can not only help themselves, but suddenly become a force multiplier so they can help other people. So when someone says that they've got a phobia, or they struggle with confidence, or any of these sort of common things that run through society, then they can kind of like straight away, I can help you with that. And that can be done in a 1 week course. So it's an incredibly powerful learning experience set in an unbelievable environment.
So basically, just to sort of cap all that off, I want to tell a little story that, when I was on one of the walks at boot camp this week, I was talking to a young lady who, I sort of said, look, talk to me about what's happening in your life and all this kind of stuff. She'd come for 3 weeks. And Paula and I are massive believers that if somebody comes to boot camp for more than a week, there's something deeper going on, you know what I mean? There's some other kind of demon that they're trying to battle with, there's some other kind of goal that they're trying to attain. And it was true with this woman, this lady. And so we got talking. I said, it ended up that she was battling a bit of an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. She was, as a result of that, she was eating way too much. She knew that sort of getting into fitness and sorting things out would kickstart her progress and be happier and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of it boiled down to sort of breaking out, getting more confidence, and just being happier about herself. And I posed a question to her, and I said, so tell me what exercise is going to give you that result. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I says, well, okay, so we want bigger biceps. What exercise we've got to do? Bicep curls. Right. So you want more happiness. What exercise is going to give you that? And she said, well, there isn't an exercise. And I said, exactly. Why are you looking for the answer to something in your mind in something that's done in a field, that's a physical thing? And basically we then sort of pivoted round to this course, and I'm really hoping that she comes along on this course. She's going to find amazing clarity and direction and break those demons, because this is exactly what this thing is set up to do. Now, being mega cheeky, and we've brokered a massive deal for financially, but also some of the additional stuff that the Phils are going to throw in to help the community of Team Bootcamp really get the very, very best and wring this thing dry. Not only that, Paula and I ourselves are enrolled on this course. We're going to get on this course in November, so you can come and learn with us. It's going to be a hugely positive thing, and I'm pretty sure by the end of the week we are just going to be light years ahead of where we were at the start of the week. So that's a little invite there. If you want more information, then obviously just click on the link below, and you can read all about it there, including the unique offer, which is limited by time, but also limited by the number of people that can get on the course. And I just want to thank you, Phil, for your little bit of teaching now, and all the mentoring, everything that you've done, and everything you've done for Team Bootcamp in the past, and Phil Kelly, which some of you will have met up at Team Bootcamp before. Any final afterburners from you, Phil?
Craig's final afterburners, my favourite. When you said there about looking for the answer in physical activity for the mind, the brain is a muscle. It's exactly the same as any other part of the body in some respects, not every, but if you exercise it all the time, if you pay attention to your brain, then you will develop a real strong, real vibrant, real open mindset. One of the pictures I usually use when I start a presentation with athletes is a guy on a couch, really overweight, with a can of beer, eating a hot dog. And I ask the athletes, would you prepare for your biggest race like this? And they all say obviously no, because they're in sort of great physical shape. But that's how they prepare their minds, a lot of them. They put loads of rubbish in it, they don't take care of it, they don't exercise it. And the mind is what makes the difference between gold and just participating, or missing the team, or losing your place on an Olympic program, or being a successful businessman as opposed to moderately successful. When you get that head right, you just go light years, like you said. You accelerate at a rapid pace.
That's always the most powerful part, the afterburner. So thanks a lot for watching this video. Click the link below. I'll see you in November at Lilleshall, the National Centre of Excellence, with the two Phils, where we are just going to dramatically change our lives. Take care.